Hey, this is William Catt from Greatest American Hero, and you're listening to the Regular Joe's podcast.
To movies and toys and TV shows, comics and collecting and superheroes. There's no end to the useless stuff they know. But don't call them geeks, they're just regular Joes.
Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast, morning edition. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm a half awake Barry Kay.
Hey, welcome to Drive Time Regular Joe's. Get your coffee out and get on the road, people. It's time. Oh, wait, it's Sunday. Never mind.
It's Sunday.
Sunday, fun day, half awake day.
Well, we're recording this on a Sunday for a change because Sunday morning, because I'm actually traveling this week, so thank you for being awake with us. Oh, you're listening to it at the same time as
They're
always.
listening to it normal time. We're just recording.
Yeah. But if we sound... You don't want to see this picture. Everyone's sort of stubbly. Well, Barry always is. And a little pink
Yeah.
this morning.
Yeah.
But thanks for joining us. A little bit of a free-for-all today. We'll let you know what's going on when we get there. But let's do some quick random. Todd, what do you got?
Robert Conrad has died.
Oh, that was going to be my last thought. But
Okay, so.
he was awesome as Canon. I always knew he should lose weight, though.
Yeah, okay.
That's William Conrad. I couldn't think of which the other guy's name was.
One of those Conrads, yeah.
Yep. I loved Wild Wild West as a kid. I can remember, like, playing in the backyard and, taking turns. Who got to be Jim West?
Yeah, trying to. I think we said trying to make the little gadgets he has,
Yep.
his little
Yeah.
Derringer thing and all that stuff.
Yep. I had a little die-cast metal Derringer when I was a kid, and it was just it's like I said, part of our childhood.
He was 84, I think.
What's that? Yeah, he was 84.
84.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm familiar with the actor. I was just too young to have had that on my radar. I've never seen an episode.
I only saw it in reruns.
No, but it wasn't even. I don't even think it was. It just wasn't even on my radar in reruns.
Yeah, it was.
Not
I
Black
think the
Sheep?
reruns had played out by that point. But I also watched Baba
Channel
Black
5.
Sheep.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with his other work, and
Yeah. No.
Shame.
I did watch
commercial
Baba
too,
Black
right?
Sheep. I got to say that is probably second only to Galactica 1980 in its use of reused footage.
Yeah. Stock
It
footage.
was, oh God, it was like even at the time, it was pretty obvious that they had maybe 7 minutes of aircraft footage, and they just kept using it over and over and over again. Anyways, it like I said, part of our childhood, and like I said, I remember again. It was that show. Dave, when was the last time you saw an episode of that?
I probably watched one like half of one not that long ago. It's on like MeTV or something. So
Okay. I got to find that
in a year or two.
It's one of those things that I watched every single. It's like the $6 Million Man, and I saw every single episode as a kid over and over and over again. And because of that, it's completely stuck in my head, and I feel like I'm gonna lessen it somehow by actually watching it and realizing how slow it is and whatnot.
Well, the thing that you notice is, wow, they're in the Wild West, and there's curbs and gutters in the streets of wherever they are. Like, that's not quite what was going on back then.
Yeah. There's funny things like that is that I think we've talked about this before. Firearms are always take me out of, when I was like, yeah, they didn't make that for another 20 years or something like that. But I love these like Revolutionary War era things where there's lawns. you know. And there's like, you know, like trimmed lawns, and it's like, yeah, it's not a thing. It didn't happen. The same thing, yeah, the curbs and gutters and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, yep. So,
Barry, you're good, or do you have something?
No, I don't have anything.
I have something. I don't think we mentioned this on the show, and I just sort of popped up. I was reading just an article online about the sound effects for the new Star Wars movie. Do you know? Did we say this? Do you know J.J. Abrams did the voice for that little D.O. robot?
Yeah, I think we might have mentioned that, but yeah, it's pretty. I think what happens a lot of times with these things is that somebody puts in a scratch vocal track as a placeholder, and then when they try other things, they're so used to hearing the scratch track that they go, nothing else compares or nothing else is as good. So that happens quite a bit, and there's a lot of times you hear about, like Dave Filoni did the voice of Chopper in Rebels, and I don't think that was intentional either to start. But sometimes these things just
it's also
stick.
handy in that you've got the person there. Granted, there's a lot of people there with other jobs, and you know, it's like, so if you need to re-record something or whatever, it's just, you know, but.
I was listening to an interview with the one. I honestly don't remember the woman's name at this point, but she was the woman that did the editing for Rise of Skywalker, and they were, because JJ came in late on the project and they had less time than he would normally have had on a movie like that. They ended up having to move the editing bay to set, so that she was like editing and showing him things almost in real time, just so they could keep on schedule. And she's since said that she will never edit another movie where she doesn't get to do that, because having that like real time reaction of something so close to when it was done, rather than shooting an entire film and then like 6 months later you're in the editing room. So I thought that was interesting. Apparently she's on a podcast where they interviewed her for like an hour. I only heard clips of it, but I'm going to try to track it down because it sounds like an interesting interview with a modern contemporary film editor, which could be cool.
You would think too, when they're shooting, so much of the stuff has effects in it, that to be able to look at those things early and say, oh, this isn't what we need. You know, what we're going to need for a base, we're going to need this instead, or this won't work, is probably super helpful too. Particularly in that all these things are now shot. You know, there's like multiple reshoots. To tighten that cycle up would be,
It's interesting because maybe I'm wrong, but I thought this movie was shot on film, which makes no sense to me. And I was used to be the film guy, film versus video,
right?
But I mean, these days cameras can probably record both. You switch it over to video to edit anyway. So
some of the movies that they shoot on digital now, they actually apply filters on to add grain to make it look more like film.
Oh yeah, they're too sharp. They're way too sharp.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Cool. Fanboy, check those guys out. Barry was pointing out something even before this show. Hot Toys Battle Damage Thanos.
It's pretty awesome.
Quite a figure.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
I will admit, Troy got an email from me on that one this week.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is the fourth version of Thanos. I mean, this is it's amazing that they've done. I mean, the first one was pre Josh Brolin, but this is the actual fourth version of this they've made, and it's pretty clear this is the ultimate version.
I would agree. I think this is the one to get. Yeah. Also, Hot Toys Harley Quinn from Birds of Prey. Whatever you think or don't think of that movie, Harley Quinn is always a favorite. There's Pops, and there's Sideshow, and there's Kotobukias, and there's Kotobukayas. No, joking. Check those guys out. They got everything you need. FanboyCollectibles.com. Check them out at their store in Newtown, Connecticut. Tell them Regular Joe sent you.
So Birds of Prey, since we're on that, are either of you planning on seeing it in the theater? I'm not.
No, I don't think so.
I'm probably gonna. Yeah.
I'm going to wait for the version where they edit out Rosie Perez. And then I'll see it.
We're back to that. Okay.
We're always back to that somehow or another.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of reviews where they made a lot of effort to be kind to it, but it sounds a lot like what people were expecting.
I think I'm only curious just because Margot Robbie in that role has been entertaining in other movies, but that isn't enough to get me to go out to a theater and see it.
Right. So.
Yeah, and it's funny. We were looking for a movie to watch last night, and I'm scrolling past, the ones that are still you have to pay for on like Amazon, and I'm like, Terminator, I can't pay $5 for that. What was the other one? There's something
Joker?
else that's out. I'm not seeing Joker. I have no interest in Joker. There's another one, but I'm like, I'll wait for them to be free because I mean they just have been, from people who've seen it, they've been horrific. So. I just can't.
I would argue at some point,
I can't
Dave.
Tell you to watch Terminator. I just can't.
Yeah, I would argue at some point,
HBO.
Dave, you need to watch Joker because I think it's not my film, but I think it's a significant film in a number of ways. In that it's basically the closest this genre has gone to going mainstream. And
I'm not looking for that though. I don't want mainstream. I want it to be what it is. That's sort of a cop out. Like
I
be
think
what
this
it is.
is.
I think
this is going to be a
an
benchmark
award-winning
film.
movie.
I think you're going to see a lot more things like this. So
I don't need to see some freaking some performance nominatable performance. I don't care about that. And that is not even a planned segue, but one of the things I want to talk about.
Yeah,
the Oscars are tonight.
I wanted to talk about that too. That was going to be one of my topics. So go. You start.
Well, mine may be completely different than yours because mine's a little more specific. So let's we'll see. We'll compare and contrast. So, so we're skipping the Joe Academy Awards this year because it's been done and we really went through all our favorite things in January. So tonight's the Oscars. Again, I don't know if there's any movie I've seen that's been nominated. But it's funny. I go back to last year. So last year, we've always done our own little thing because we don't see any of these movies. And not that I have any problem with them, but they just don't really fit in. I happen to have... So the movie that won Best Picture was called Green Book. It's been on HBO like every 5 minutes. I've watched it like 4 or 5 times. It is really good. It's not our genre. It's super entertaining. It's one of those movies that you could sort of watch at any time. It's a road movie, sort of like Rain Man. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't yet, but I did notice it is on HBO a lot, and I'm going to probably put it on my DVR so I can watch it.
It's sort of a comedy. It stars Aragon, the future Blade, and Hawkeye's wife. So how do you go wrong with that?
okay.
But I'm not saying like, oh, I don't like these movies and now I like one. But again, Viggo Mortensen is great. This guy Mahershala Ali is great. But that's sort of what got me rolling on to. So here's, and I'm really talking about the Marvel Universe. So, but other genre movies. We have had like nominated Oscar winners in sort of supporting roles, like your Tommy Lee Jones and Robert Redford. But I think now, remember when Robert Downey Jr. did Iron Man, it was like, okay, sort of, let's take a chance on a guy who's sort of down on his career, and he was a B or C list actor at the time. I mean, he's had ups and downs in his career, but here we are in a world where not these older actors, but this guy Mahershala Ali has won 2 Oscars, and here he is planning to be in the next Blade. We saw that with a bunch. So, like, this genre has changed where even current Oscar winners like Brie Larson and that Lupita Nyong'o or whatever her name are Oscar winners choosing to be even in supporting roles in these. That's how this has changed to what the mainstream.
Right, but they still don't mainstream. They still don't give those movies the respect that they deserve.
But also, even beyond that,
who cares
I think
about
the whole media landscape has shifted to where both the best Oscar winner for in a male role and the best supporting winner in a male role had TV shows on the same season that aired the same year that they won Oscars. Okay, that aired after they won Oscars. Okay,
yeah,
and they were both really good. And I think it's. The whole Oscar thing has shifted. I think it's a great benchmark. It's all this kind of stuff. But I don't think we don't look at those things the way we used to. We used to look at those as like a tiered thing, and an Oscar winner wouldn't do this, an Oscar winner wouldn't do that.
That's exactly my point. Kate Blanchett took was an Oscar winner and took a supporting villain role in a Marvel movie because it's fun and it's not doesn't have this stigma. So
Yep.
Right, and
that was sort of my
I guess
thing.
What I would add to that is I'm hopeful that because of that maybe the staunchy, very starched shirt Academy will start to, see that and go, okay, well, these movies are, going back to the Martin Scorsese, these movies not being cinema, like, it doesn't matter. These movies are entertaining as hell, and they get droves of people coming out to see them, but they still get ignored predominantly when it comes to, what was the best movie. And any of the best movie is such a subjective thing, or the best actor, but these movies, by and large, are still getting ignored. I mean, you had your Black Panther nominations and stuff, but I mean, when you look down this list, and it was funny because I was going to take a slightly different approach, but similarly, I was going to, mention that, yeah, we didn't do the Joe Academy Awards this year, and there was we've just all agreed there was no reason to do it, but you look down the list of Best Picture, and now I think they let, they don't limit the thing
10.
to 5 anymore. I've got the list in front of me. It's Ford v. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, which is your one sort of, comic book movie, Little Women, which has been made 4 times, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite.
Yeah.
You telling me that in a year where you had, some of the biggest tentpole movies for the year are not anywhere on this list. So.
Yeah.
I almost think it's a good thing.
I think a lot of these people, if you said, you can make $1 billion or you can carry home an Oscar. Okay. I think there's going to be some people that lean towards making $1 billion and think that someday it'll be nice to direct a movie where I get an Oscar. But right now, making $1 billion is a really good thing.
And the thing is, you could do both, and that's what these actors are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
They are Academy Award winners, but why not be the new Blade?
But
or,
I think that if you asked most of the
other
actors,
people.
would you rather win an Academy Award and be recognized by your peers, or would you rather make $1 billion? Most people don't get into acting purely for the love of the craft. There's I want to be a star thing in there,
I don't know
too.
about that.
I don't know. Most of them want to be stars.
Right. I tend to think there's also a secondary market for Oscars by people who basically can't win them and can't afford to keep them. So, despite the fact that you're not supposed to, people sell their Oscars because they have to. I think there's room for both. I think there's probably people at both ends of that spectrum. People thinking right now I'm going to make a lot of money, or now that I've checked this box, I can do whatever the hell I want. Which is the attitude I kind of favor. I think that if someone does hit that point, I think it really all bets are off now on what you do with it.
Just for the record, I sort of came up with this story as a positive thing, and Barry's putting a negative spin on it. So I'm not the
I
negative
honestly,
guy.
I'm not.
I wasn't seeing this as a negative. I
I'm
wasn't
not
seeing
saying
this
to
as
you.
kind
I'm
of
saying to the public.
I'm seeing
I
this
wasn't
as
trying to
like
put
a
a negative spin on it.
democratization of Hollywood thing. I think that it's great that that people are getting off their perch and
Especially like Marsala Ali. Here's a guy he's won Best Supporting Actor Oscars in the past 4 years, 2 of them.
yeah.
And he's in TV show. He's very hot right now, and you choose to be the new Blade. That's I give that guy a lot of credit.
Was the villain in Luke Cage? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
He could be a comic book nut for all we know, but I just think he doesn't have to do that. It's something that he wants to do.
yeah.
So
and that's
and
again,
I
that's
wasn't
fine.
trying to go down the negative route. I mean, what I was really trying to say was, I don't think that the Russo brothers are sitting back going, "Damn, I wish I had won an Oscar rather than collected all of this money." I just don't think they are.
That's what I'm
And,
saying. They
you know,
they can
it'd be great if they did, but
yeah.
And to me, the money isn't only about the money to some of these guys. The money is about the fact that people are seeing my work.
Right. But what I was saying,
and when
about-
you're directing one of these
you
movies,
can make that.
I was just going to say, when you're
Whatever,
directing
your
a
kids
movie,
must be awake because you're very choppy.
me,
Yeah.
yeah, when you're directing one of these movies, you're probably working as hard or harder than somebody who's directing, Green Book. Just because there's so much more into it, the effects and the green screen and all the planning and all the having to anticipate all the stuff that's not there, and it's just as much work, if not more, than directing one of the movies that ends up on the best picture
but I
list.
think, work aside, I think these are both avenues for advancement for a director. If we're going to talk director versus actor, I think having an extremely successful film financially or putting an Oscar on your shelf, either one of those is going to get you your next job. And as it's demonstrated, even if that doesn't go well, it'll get you the job after that. So, it's
some of these movies, a road movie could be harder than a Marvel movie in terms of half of it's green screen, half is being on the road. That's tough.
Yeah,
for a director.
Did either of you watch The Irishman?
No.
I mean, I've been warned away from The Irishman by so many people whose opinions I respect that I just Yeah,
I watched it. It took me 2 sittings because it's so damn long. I just don't see how it's an achievement, and it's not the best performances of any of these guys. So for that to be nominated in so many categories, I don't know.
It strikes me, and again, I haven't seen it, so I'm talking on my ass here, but it strikes me as a callback to another era of film, and that I think we moved past. So we'll see what it does. I personally, the film I'm pulling for tonight, and you know this too, Barry, is Jojo Rabbit. I freaking love that movie. I do
too. I mean, it's almost shocking that it's nominated in Best Picture.
It truly is. I've described that to people as being wrong in all the right ways.
For a movie that bizarre to actually be as emotional as it is at points and as funny as it is at points, I loved it. So
yeah, and again, Marvel director. So.
Well, and Taika doesn't seem like a guy that takes himself super seriously either, given all the different things that he does.
Over the place,
he's everywhere. I mean, he's
cool.
IG-11.
He also does that FX comedy vampire show.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like it's somebody like that is can do what he wants to do and is clearly doing what he enjoys doing. And boy, I watching that film, I've watched it I think 2.5 times now. I just marvel at the fact that someone could get this movie made. I mean,
maybe I'll watch it on the plane.
You should watch it, Dave.
Past the pitch meeting. I mean, but yeah, it's if anybody listening who has not seen this film and you have any preconceived notions on what the film is, let those go out the window. Go see the film. It's very good, and so that honestly.
Todd, what did you want to talk about, or do you want to? Is yours, Barry, completely different? That we come back to it after Todd, after we break from the Oscars?
I think we've covered mine.
Oh.
Okay.
So you're super negative Sunday mornings, and I'm Mr. Positivity. That's what we know.
I don't think I was super negative.
No, I'm kidding. But I'm always the one who's negative. Todd, what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so what I was thinking was, it's I mean, of a similar vein, but it's different. I mean, I thought it would maybe time to check in on what we haven't gotten yet. We had a year where so many remakes and so many callbacks and so many, we saw them destroy the Terminator, literally, and we've gotten Star Wars back in one way, shape, or form. We have the lead from Next Generation now has a TV series. What things are left that have nostalgic value to revisit? And I think the list is smaller, but I thought years ago we played, do we reboot or do you revisit? And I think I would start off by saying I still like to have them do something with Logan's Run. I know that there's been one thing after another in development, and
that would be the top of my list, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is that the list, the number of people that becomes nostalgic for keeps getting smaller and smaller.
Oh, absolutely, and that's where I'm saying it's. But that also puts it squarely in the category of you just reboot it. There's some, name recognition out there, but you reboot it and you go with whatever you want to do.
Just like look at Lost in Space. It was same boat.
And,
I mean,
and that's
there was no one looking for Lost in Space.
It's raw IP at this point. And
yeah, I think the challenge that I have personally with that is that, yes, I agree with you, but for me, for one of the few people that would still be nostalgic for that property, if they took it too far in one direction, then I probably wouldn't be satisfied with it.
I agree.
And I'm probably at that point, I'm not the target, because you're talking about rebooting something that has maybe a little bit of name recognition. You could make it anything you want to appeal to a modern audience, but if it doesn't resemble Logan's Run in any way, then we're all going to be like, well, all they did was take the name.
What did you think about that script? I mean, did you guys read it?
I haven't read it yet.
I haven't read it yet.
I think it's probably right down the middle of doing something different in a different place, but still holding a fair amount of what was in there. I'm not I don't know if it was great or bad, or it's hard to say but it wasn't like 180 degrees.
Okay.
Which almost certainly the second season of Lost in Space was totally not Lost in Space.
No.
Again, we talked about that show, not bad or good, but they're sort of going off on a tangent. Maybe they'll come back, but
yeah, they spent almost the entire season on a planet, so they weren't really lost anyway.
Yeah, with other people. I don't care if you're on a planet, and if the intergalactic department store shows up, you're still lost.
Yeah.
Mr.
What was that guy's name? Who's the guy with the department? The guy with that guy?
Oh yeah.
Mr. Fiendish or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I still think $6 Million Man. Certainly not the Mark Wahlberg version, but they did reboot the Bionic Woman though. I mean, that's sort of almost the same thing, and that basically turned into a cop show, which Bionic Woman and $6 Million Man
really
did turn into.
Yeah.
After the first couple episodes too. So, but there's something interesting there.
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing that I
think
don't
there's potential. I think there's potential to do something with the Bionic Man, and I thought about that. I mean, there's also some, you think about like the limitations of doing that, and one of the things is like all the tech is hidden for the most part, unless he tears his arm open, which he did periodically early on. All the tech is hidden, so you got to kind of explain. You got to keep explaining things to people. I also think this era makes it being a lot more complicated being bionic. Okay, getting through a metal detector, not easy. I can say
this. Flies a private plane.
As someone who's got a lot of metal parts in me, okay, it's like he'd be the only one who slows people down more than I do.
Well, maybe his bionics would be more organic.
He doesn't drive a station wagon the way he did in the second through fifth seasons.
Yeah, God.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's some different things. I've thought a couple times about whether they actually said it in the 70s.
I think the problem with the bionic thing is that, to your point, because it's hidden tech, unless they do something to completely make it different, it really just does become a cop show. So unless you're going to either set it in the future or set it, in a alternate version of reality or something where it's almost more like Blade Runner-esque, and like it's in a future where it just feels like there's got to be more of a hook to it than
on it could work.
Stopping criminals because you have a strong arm and a good eye and you can hear from far away. Like,
hey, you just shit on my childhood. Don't say
exactly. No,
it was great when we were kids. Because
this may be a little closer to Dave and I than you. Okay,
I loved the $6 Million Man when I was a kid. What are you kidding me?
In the early days, it was a lot more like espionage kind of stuff. Okay, it was pure spies, and it was like terrorists, would-be terrorists and stuff like this, and that was better than the crime stuff. But you're right, it did ultimately devolve into like.
What if they did make it into like a super spy kind of real thing?
Which I think is what it needs to be. He needs to be a super James Bond.
Yeah, but if you look at even a series like Blind Spot, I mean, you could instead of her having tattoos, you could have made her have superpowers, and it's almost, I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
It's
You're
kind of
totally
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
But I hate to say, the
Did Blind Spots evolve into a procedural? Is that what happened? Or
yeah,
no,
yeah,
okay.
totally.
I didn't know if that was a point Barry was making. So
Yeah, better than some.
yeah,
But still pretty. You could throw a bunch. But you look at Mission Impossible. I mean, this is not a man crushing moment on Tom Cruise, but he almost is the Bionic Man. I mean, that guy goes through everything. I'm saying the character.
Well,
Okay.
but I think it works when you're making a movie every 3 to 5
uses
years. When you're trying to do even 10 episodes of a series and it's weekly, it's like, how many weeks in a row are you going to save the world?
but Dave, that's a perfect example of they took existing IP. The first movie they kind of shit on it, but then they made it into something else entirely. They kept the basic core premise and made it into something else. And that's what I'm saying. Are there still things out there that have value that are untouched that have never made it out of development that are worth jumping on? Or are there more recent things like, the other example is I'm ready for more Stargate. I think things have, CGI and stuff is advanced to the point where they could do some more interesting things with a tighter, 10 or 12 episodes, season with that show.
I'm totally into that.
And
I'm ready for Spiderman reboot. I don't know why they haven't done that for the 4th time.
Yeah.
Well, they're even on Peacock Network announced that, they haven't even launched yet, but they announced that they're going to reboot Battlestar Galactica, and it, do we need another take on that right now? We've had one that was very memorable from our childhood, but not great, and one that was really good. So, do we need another one?
Until it wasn't.
No, that's more
until
about
it wasn't.
They
I'm with
own
you.
it, I'm sure. Kind of someone owns it.
Yeah. That's one of the things that where again, do you has anyone rebooted anything a third time? Can you think of anything that's been
Other than Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? Oh, Planet of the Apes, technically, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was movie
So-
series, movie series, TV series, movie, and then series of movies. So it's 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the first TV a reboot?
No, the first
I guess
TV
it
was a
was,
prequel
yeah.
to the movie series. So
Okay.
it was
It was?
that was in
a
line with the
prequel?
movie series. But so we could basically say Roddy McDowell era, the era of which we do not speak, and then the modern stuff, which, like I said, is
Yeah, what else? And you look back to those shows. This is not in our genre, but anytime it's on MeTV, I will watch Columbo as long as it's in the first 5 seasons, not when it's in the later seasons.
That's one of my questions too, Dave, with this is, are these things, a lot of these things that we would look at, so attached to an individual that, next year we're going to have the Walker Texas Ranger spin-off or reboot.
TV show on the CW with
Which is
one
why
of the Supernatural guys.
In that case, I'm saying you've got somebody who's got that much recognition as an actor, because there's got to be a cult following for that show. There is a cult following for that show. A lot of them are girls that I teach.
You're saying Supernatural?
Supernatural. Why would you
Girls who teach
retread?
16
Why would you
girls and
retread
me.
a second tier? Instead of creating something new.
I thought you were going with Chuck Norris has got, and he did, but nobody. I'm saying 99.9% of the people who will see the first episode of Walker Texas Ranger knows who Chuck Norris is, except for me.
That's what that's what I'm saying. You think so? You think that's the audience? You think it's people are going to go back because
It's
they
on the
like Chuck
CW.
Norris, and this guy who obviously isn't Chuck Norris is going to sustain it?
No, I think it's a totally new concept to people who've never seen Walker or know who Chuck Norris is.
Right, and that's why I'm saying why did you
They
bother?
could have made something. You're right, but they're like, that's the era we're in. Let's
Yeah.
take something that nobody remembers, but we do, and let's remake it.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
It is.
So-
It's, honestly, it's hard to find anything that ran more than 3 seasons in the 70s or the 70s through early 80s that they haven't revisited in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know whether that's the elevator pitch thing, whether it's just safe to do that, or
UFO, which is very open-ended. Could be a million different things.
it could.
And it wasn't great.
It wasn't even great at the
either.
time, but it's
Right.
it's yeah. Interesting.
But what about? They've all been done. Time Tunnel been done as something else.
Yeah, I
Time
think
Tunnel is basically whatever that show we liked with Matt Lanter.
timeless.
Timeless.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a couple of years before we cycle back to time travel shows. I think they hit that so hard, so fast. Everyone jumped in on that, and it's
Yeah, and I
you
think the
think-
problem is if the
so-
ratings aren't super high, they become expensive shows to produce because you've got period pieces you're filming once a week.
yeah. I mean, you think about the
But
only
you know the
thing
problem
that's
with
the
them?
only thing that's been sustained is Legends. So, yeah.
Well, it's funny because I mean I do think Timeless, when we all liked it, they did a little more than because the Time Tunnel was like. We're traveling to the Titanic on the soundstage.
We're traveling to basically
the
whatever
Hindenburg on a
soundstage is not active this week, but is still set up from something else they're filming. That's how they did
from
Time
the Love
Tunnel.
Boat. No, not then. The Love Boat could use another reboot.
Making another
Fantasy
run.
Island is coming
Yeah,
back.
They're Fantasy Island, right? You said
Yeah, Fantasy Island
Yeah,
is
but
coming
it's.
back.
I guess it's dark. I guess it's
It's
It
very
looks
dark.
really
It looks
dark from the
very
promo,
dark.
yeah.
it's creepy Fantasy
and
Island.
I think.
But
Michael
that's a great
Payne is
example, though.
Mr.
It's
Rourke.
probably Fantasy Island in name alone, and the entire show is not going to resemble.
right, which
Fantasy
goes back to
Island.
again the
No.
same thing. Is it just like you pay for the IP and then you just go wild?
It sounds like they're putting people in the fantasy, but it's sort of there was a little touch of you're going to get what you wish for, and that may not be a good thing. I think
Yeah.
they're totally expanding on that. There was a
Yeah.
little of that.
But
in
it seems like they're allowing
later
like
episodes of-
darker fantasies, than like Mr. Rourke would have never
'cause
allowed that.
basically, Mr. Rourke is God, and Roddy McDowell was the devil. Remember that episode?
Yeah. Yep.
That's where they sort of went with that, which was like, really?
Which makes a lot of sense given that I don't know what these people are paying to be there, but the fact that in some cases they recreated cities. I mean, it's it was kind of crazy.
Well, it's a little
but-
Where was
Westworldy in
film?
that
Was
way, right?
Yes,
Was that on an island or only a soundstage?
it was
I don't know where that was.
It was an island. And
No, I'm saying in real life. Did they film that in Hawaii or?
oh no, it was filmed in a soundstage. That was another one where, like I said, there was one shot of the plane landing, and then one shot of the
Jesus,
door
yeah.
opening, and then everyone would be at the far end of the dock.
Out come Robert Hayes and
Yes, exactly.
Brittany Murphy,
You never
Morgan-
saw anyone
Morgan
walk
Fairchild.
down the dock, but you
Right.
saw them step off the dock. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. A lot of that
There's got to
stuff.
be certainly out there in listening land. Let us know what you think of things that should be rebooted. I'm sure there's stuff that we probably haven't thought about. Salvage.
I love salvage. This is when you could redo
There's
that.
a lot of stuff up there.
It's
There's a lot
actually
of
more
stuff up there.
realistic now than it would have been back when that
It would
show
be,
aired.
I agree, Barry. It would be more realistic now, and you could do and it's the era of all these renegade space programs that tend to be big dollar funded. Not renegade, you know what I'm saying? The independent that tend to be big dollar funded. I'd love someone doing one of these things, competing and winning a prize out of a junkyard. That'd
be interesting.
Dave, that's probably the best one yet. I think salvage would be.
It's definitely topical, sort of now.
Yeah. So
Is that even available? I would watch the pilot again. I don't know. Is it on anything
Yeah.
other than
It's probably on YouTube.
the obvious places?
Everything's
The
on
obvious
YouTube.
place.
Yeah. And then there's an absolute gajillion kind of cop shows and stuff like that they could go back and hit. But I was trying to think of things that were more creative and more kind of sci-fi-ish, and but guess we'll see. There's somebody out there right now pitching every idea that ever existed. So
they've been poking around with the Greatest American Hero too. I thought that was
well, actually, they had announced that it was going to be rebooted with a female lead, and it never materialized.
Well, back then though, there is a pilot.
There's a pilot for the Greatest American Heroine. Yep.
Yeah, as a spin-off from the original show, but they've talked about doing it.
No, I'm saying they were
not that long ago.
2 years ago. They announced that they were doing it, and they announced it was a they announced the actress that was going to be in the lead too, and it was a female. I forget what her name was, but they did announce something a couple years ago, and either they shot it and never moved it forward, or something happened with it. We'll look it up.
It's sitting out there somewhere.
So let us know what you think. Do you guys want to go to What's in the Box?
Sure.
These boxes, they're a mystery.
Could be worth hundreds. Could be worth $1. We don't know.
You were like Brad Pitt. You're like, what's in the box? Oh, what's in the box? Regular Joe's What's in the Box.
Todd, what's in the box? Barry's looking stuff up.
Okay. So I'm going to go with another statue. That's why I'm groaning. Anyways, this is a Nightwing that you can actually currently find with our sponsor. I really like this figure. It's I don't know if you see here, he's got his little baton in his hand, and it looks like he's spinning it, and because these are actually all clear, and so he's got one solid on one side, and the other it looks like he's spinning it.
That's cool.
And I got to tell you, in the pictures, it looks a little goofy, but it's in real life, it looks really good. It actually looks like he's spinning it, and it's kind of clever.
I like
effect.
how it's clear versus solid metal. Kinda.
Yes,
that is cool.
It's a good looking figure, and it really is 1/6 scale. It's exactly 1/6 scale, and I like that he's kind of in a straight up and down pose too, because it fits on a shelf without taking up too much space, and I'm squeezed between a couple of the Batman figures. But this is in the same series as a Supergirl that I got a couple of years ago, and it's from it's DC Collectibles, but like I said, really kind of cool, very reasonably priced, and done pretty well. So, anyways, that's my what's in the box.
Cool.
That's neat. Barry, what do you got while Todd's off screen?
I had got it in my head a little while ago that I wanted to try to remember what my very first ever Star Wars collectible was, even when I was a kid, and I wanted to recapture that. And I feared it might have been like an iron-on T-shirt that I wouldn't be able to replace. But I really thought about it, and I remember the very first thing I ever got right after Star Wars came out was the vinyl soundtrack to the movie.
Oh, cool.
Aha.
So I recently tracked this down, and the main reason I wanted to track it down was it came with a poster when it was first released, and I wanted the poster. It's a really cool poster. I'm folding it out as I show you guys. It's like this artistic rendering of
That's awesome.
battle around the Death Star.
It's all pixelated.
With all the ships flying around and the Falcons in there and his TIE fighters and X-Wings. And so I kind of wanted this poster, so I started tracking it down, and I saw the poster by itself was selling for like $75 on eBay, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that. So I've been tracking this now for a while, and I was finally able to get a copy. It's got all the records. It even had like this insert that had like John Williams talking about each composition.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
so this is complete and in good shape, and I got it for $25 for the whole thing.
Really?
Which
it's not a reissue?
No, this is an original. I mean, it's little wear on it and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's in great shape, and it's got all the things that it originally came with, and it's really I was happy to get it, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, that would have been the first thing I would have gotten, because there was no merchandise really. And I remember listening to this thing over and over and over again, because it was kind of the only way you could relive the moments. And I got to know the music so well as a kid, because I probably wore this album out when I had it when I was a kid, and that poster was hanging on my bedroom wall. And it wasn't until months later that stuff started actually, like posters came out, and then there were magazines, and But yeah, the Star Wars soundtrack, the original vinyl soundtrack, was the first thing I had gotten.
Interesting. And do you know specifically what happened to yours?
No, it's gone. I didn't keep most of my vinyl. As I started converting vinyl to CDs, I got rid of most of them. I still have a handful of my original records, but I had replaced everything with CDs because for me it was more about the sound quality than the physical. And I had hundreds of albums that I traded in at there was a record store near me growing up where you could trade in your vinyl and you get cash and you could spend it on CDs and stuff. So I did that with hundreds and hundreds of albums. So yeah, I've got a great CD copy of this that I'll probably never listen to again because now I do everything on streaming. But I wanted the physical vinyl, but I didn't want to pay a fortune for it.
You got to think that's something that probably exists in good numbers out there because I would bet they didn't know. I mean, again, there was no merchandising at the time. They didn't know what their target audience was going to be. They probably overproduced it, and probably a lot of them ended up in record stores where people could have cared less about Star Wars. So I bet there's copies out there to be found. But
I think there's a lot of them. The problem with this album is it's a black cover, and it's a double album that folds open. And it's funny.
And again,
what really
just
triggered
says
this
Star
for me,
Wars, which at the time was Star Wars.
What really triggered this for me, though, was when we did that story about Mark Hamill getting his copy back, and that's really what clicked for me. But because it's just a black cover, and there's 2 records in here, you almost always see a ring around this cover where it's worn. So I kind of want, and there is one. There's even a ring on this one. You can kind of see it a little bit, but
it's
so many of these are in such bad shape that and they were listened to so much that they're worn out. I don't know that I'll even ever.
That's a prime spot for a John Williams autograph.
Sure is, isn't it?
In silver.
Would be great.
That would be awesome.
That would be great.
It was his birthday yesterday, or
yesterday
this week or something.
I think the other thing too, Todd, is finding it with all these the paper inserts is probably a lot harder.
Again, Barry, that is such a for what you paid. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
yeah, that is cool.
Dave, what do you got? What's in the box?
I don't have anything either as meaningful or cool, but Todd and we've talked about this before. Gaffer tape is a thing.
Oh yeah,
it's basically, I would think it's something like duct tape's more sophisticated cousin.
Yes,
because it's removable and much more versatile, and it comes in big rolls. I found these little rolls of duct tape.
Gaffer's tape.
Gaffer's tape that are perfect to put in camera bags and stuff.
Wow.
I tear half my gaffer's tape in half, at least half of it.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
These are 1 inch. Well, gaffer's tape is also called camera tape, and we used to use it in the film business. I still have a ton of rolls of it, big rolls. You would use it to cover up the magazine of the camera to not let light in. You'd put it on the ground to put a mark where the actor stands. So I would actually take the 1 inch gaffer tape and roll it onto 16 millimeter film rolls. So they were small, but here's a company. This is 20 years later, putting it out in these little rolls.
That's cool.
I saw this is a guy on YouTube, a photographer named Peter McKinnon. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. He has these all over the place, and that's when I've seen them for a year or two, but I'm I haven't bought them. So, but gaffer tape is a wonderful thing.
It's amazing, and it lasts forever. It comes off everything. I'll give you one of my tips with gaffer's tape is every plastic toolbox I have has a couple of strips of gaffer's tape on it.
Because you could pull it off, and
you could pull it off, and you could, in a lot of cases, stick it back on there afterwards. But it's in anything you're working on. If you need a quick clamp or something like that, it's just right there. You just tear it off and you do it. Like if your other repair fails, it's right there.
Yeah. Modern gaffer tape is thinner than the old gaffer tape that we used to have when I was in the movie business. It's definitely thinner, but it's so funny because it comes in 20 colors, and we used to order it in a bunch of colors because one actor would be yellow for their mark, another that's camera tape really. Another actor would be orange, and in the beginning of a shoot, you'd go to the main actor and say, what color would you prefer? Because some would definitely have preferences of what color their mark is versus somebody else.
That's interesting.
But it was also, and I guess it's okay to say this since it's such a long time ago, it was also a currency in the business, there used to be this hardware store that every movie, TV company in New York City would go to and order their supplies, like whatever. You would literally say, I'm ordering 20 rolls of gaffer tape, only give me 10, and then give me this drill instead. And on your invoicing, you'd be like, okay, you ordered 30 rolls of gaffer tape? Yeah, well, it's a big shoot. And you wouldn't take them, and you'd sort of take different things for free. That was the currency. It was almost like cigarettes in prison.
Wow. That's funny. I think, Dave, you can still get the thick stuff through theatrical companies, because that's what I still get a couple rolls a year that our theater department gets for us. And it's very different than the other stuff I buy. And they buy them in like 10-roll packs. It's about twice as thick. And that's... Yeah,
the company that... at the time was the only one who made it was called Permacell. This is fascinating for non-tape people. But now there's a bunch of companies. But this is good. It's thin. I'm going to throw one in my car, one in the regular Joe's road case, one in my camera bag. I got 4 for like $15.
That's great.
Yeah, I want that link, because that's the perfect. Like I said, I tear a ton of it in half, and the only thing I use it for full width usually is like. Because I like to kind of layer it and put it in different directions and stuff. But
there's a lot of 1-inch on the big rolls too.
Yeah.
that's what is really called the camera tape. I have that in a bunch
but
of
those little
still.
ones would be handy for the toolbox. And
yeah.
The full
they
width
actually make.
is
And I was
taping
at one
down
of
cords.
the hobby stores. Yep. They make duck brand duct tape. And they sell it in the craft stores in a million colors. They have smaller rolls than this of duct tape, which I never saw. That's actually pretty cool. And it's like $2.
I have a few of those because we bring them on camping trips just in case you need something with the Boy Scouts. Yeah, that stuff comes in handy.
That's cool.
So hey, I did look this up just to circle back. So ABC did order a pilot for Greatest American Hero. It was going to be starring Nina Simone, not Nina Simone. Hannah Simone from New Girl. And it says that the description was, Mira is a 30-year-old Indian-American woman who's from Cleveland, whose talents include tequila drinking, karaoke, and not much else. All that changes when some alien entrusts her with a super suit to protect the planet. And ABC decided not to pick up the pilot after it was filmed. So they did shoot a pilot, it sounds like, but...
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like the Wonder Woman pilot that Adrian Pilecki was in.
Hopefully it's better than the Wonder Woman pilot.
Yeah. Or the Greatest American Heroine pilot, like I said, which is out there.
It's out there.
I have it.
I think it's on one of the box sets.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I had something else, but I'm going to hold in next time because we're running longer than we wanted. So any other thoughts, last thoughts?
I could quickly, we haven't talked about conventions in a while because it's not convention season, but I did just look up the next Chiller show in New Jersey, and it is like a who's who of 80s hot women, Dave, so we might need to go to this.
Oh.
Helen Slater's going to be there. Tanya Roberts is going to be there. Heather Thomas is going to be there. The girl from Home Improvement is going to be there.
Debbie Dunning?
Yep. Who else? There was
or Pamela Anderson.
Tia Carrera is going to be there. Julie McCullough is going to be there from Growing Pains. Michelle Johnson from Blame It on Rio is going to be there. Jamie Luner is going to be there. And then Barbara Luna is going to be there too. It's and maybe more interesting from from the hot girl category. Ronnie Cox is going to be there.
Huh.
Haven't seen, and it says it's his first East Coast appearance.
Captain
ever.
Jellicoe.
And Scott Baio is going to be there.
And he actually dated all those girls.
All of those girls, that's right. And Harry Hamlin's going to be there. I might need to go just to get a Clash of the Titans autograph.
Harry Hamlin's going to really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And Rex Smith, who was TV's Daredevil, Todd.
Oh, God. TV's first Daredevil. A blind man who looked at everyone who was speaking.
Yeah. Amongst others. So I might have to make the trip to Jersey for this one.
When is that? April?
April 24th to 26th. Give them a plug.
Huh. That's the one in Parsippany, not the other one.
They moved.
Chiller's the one up here.
Yeah.
But not the one in
No, it's not.
Cherry Hill. That one's...
Yeah.
That's a trek. That's something. It's called something else.
Yeah. So I have one last quick thing. I'm almost finished with the last Next Generation novel, okay, which is because Picard came out, it now makes all the stuff that all the novels that they've been writing since Nemesis no longer canon, and that all kind of gets swept away. So this is the closing chapter in pretty much, I was like 20 years worth of novels, but it's called Collateral Damage, and there's some interesting things in this one, but one of them is Billy Campbell's character Okana from the second season. Remember the outrageous Okana, where they very clearly tried to make this guy like a Harry Mudd type character, and it didn't fly. I think they were looking to make him a reoccurring character, and it didn't really take off. He is pretty much the narrator of this story, and it's kind of funny. It made me think that like they could actually bring this character back in Picard if they wanted to. I don't know what he's doing right now, but I don't think he's got a series or anything at the moment. But yeah, it's interesting, and like I said, these books have been good, but it's a different era now, so they're moving forward. But yeah. So last book in that series and closing it out. So, yep.
Interesting.
It's interesting. I guess they'll write books on
now.
the
now
newer
it becomes
series
now it becomes the backstory of the Picard universe. So
Yeah.
we shall see.
Cool. Interesting. Well, let us know if you have any thoughts on any of the stuff we said, particularly the shows to be rebooted, because we always like hearing about that. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.